not a toy. I was made for soup, salad, maybe chili, and then the trash.
Buzz, we've got to get Forky. Affirmative. You're Bonnie's toy. You are going to help create happy memories.
When Toy Story 4 arrived in 2019, it carried an unusual weight. This was not just another animated sequel. It was a continuation of a story many believed had already reached its emotional conclusion. For decades, audiences had grown alongside these characters, watching them transition from the imaginative chaos of Andy's childhood bedroom to the uncertain tenderness of a new home with Bonnie. The previous chapter felt like a farewell, a graceful passing of the torch. And yet, this fourth installment dared to ask a deeper question. What happens after happily ever after for a toy whose entire identity has been defined by devotion? Woody begins this chapter in a quieter, more complicated place. He is no longer the undisputed leader of the room. Bonnie loves her toys, but her affections shift in the unpredictable rhythm of childhood. Woody finds himself spending more time in the closet, listening to the laughter from afar rather than participating in it. For a character who once thrived on purpose and responsibility, this subtle displacement is profound. His confidence is no longer rooted in being the favorite. Instead, it is tested by irrelevance. And yet, his instinct remains unchanged. His priority is still the well-being of his kid. The film reintroduces us to the warmth and playful camaraderie of the toy ensemble, but the emotional lens narrows more closely around Woody's internal struggle. He is grappling with a truth that many viewers can relate to, outgrowing a role that once defined you. Leadership, loyalty, and self-sacrifice have always been his guiding principles. Now, those principles feel unmoored. Bonnie's first day of kindergarten becomes a turning point, not because it is grand in scale, but because it highlights Woody's unwavering commitment. He secretly stows away in her backpack to ensure she feels safe in an unfamiliar environment. That decision, small but heartfelt, sets the stage for everything that follows. It is in that classroom that Forky is born, a toy assembled from craft supplies, a spork turned into a figure of affection. Forky is unlike any character the franchise has introduced before. He does not want to be a toy. He identifies as trash. His existential crisis is both comedic and surprisingly philosophical. If toys derive meaning from being loved by a child, what happens when a toy doesn't even accept that identity? Forky's repeated attempts to throw himself away are played for humor, but they also mirror Woody's own crisis of purpose. Both characters are wrestling with identity. One rejects it entirely, while the other fears losing it. The road trip premise expands the narrative physically and emotionally. Bonnie's family vacation becomes the backdrop for Woody's evolving understanding of what it means to exist as a toy. The journey takes the characters beyond the familiar safety of bedrooms and playrooms into antique stores, carnivals, and open highways. This widening of the world is symbolic. Woody begins to see that the life of a toy is not confined to a single child. The universe is larger than he imagined, and within it lie choices he has never allowed himself to consider. The antique store serves as a pivotal setting, both whimsical and slightly eerie. It is here that Woody encounters Gabby, a vintage doll whose polite demeanor masks a longing as deep as Woody's own. Her defective voice box has prevented her from being chosen by a child, and her desire to be loved drives her to desperate measures. Gabby is not framed as a traditional villain. She is a reflection of unmet longing. In her, Woody sees a distorted mirror of himself, someone who believes that being chosen is the ultimate validation of existence. Bo Peep's return marks one of the most significant developments in the film. Absent from the previous installment, she re-enters the story transformed. No longer the porcelain figure confined to a lamp, she has embraced a life of independence as a lost toy. Her resilience and autonomy challenge Woody's hold-held beliefs. She does not define herself by ownership. Instead, she finds meaning in freedom and choice. Their reunion is layered with nostalgia, affection, and tension. The chemistry remains, but the ideological divide is clear. Bo represents possibility. Woody represents tradition. Through Bo, the film explores the concept of self-determination. She navigates the world with confidence, unbound by the singular mission of serving one child. Her perspective unsettles Woody. For him, loyalty has always been absolute. The idea of choosing a life beyond a child feels almost like betrayal. Yet the film carefully reframes that notion. It suggests that growth does not negate loyalty, rather it expands it into something more nuanced. Forky's ongoing crisis becomes unexpectedly profound. His simple question, "What am I?" resonates beyond the comedic surface. He was created from discarded objects, yet he is cherished. His worth is not intrinsic to his materials, but assigned through love. Woody takes it upon himself to guide Forky toward understanding this truth, perhaps because he needs to reaffirm it for himself. If a spork can become a beloved toy, then perhaps a toy can become something more than what he has always been. The carnival sequences infuse the film with vibrant energy and introduce new supporting characters who embody different survival strategies in the toy world. Some cling to the hope of being won as prizes. Others manipulate circumstances to increase their chances. The humor is sharp and self-aware, balancing the heavier existential themes. Pixar's craftsmanship shines in the visual detail, the glow of string lights, the texture of antique wood, the shimmer of carnival prizes. The animation feels both expansive and intimate, grounding emotional beats in tactile realism. At its core, this chapter is about transition. Childhood is fleeting. Bonnie will grow, just as Andy did. Toys, by their nature, are witnesses to impermanence. Woody's arc forces him to confront the inevitability of change. For so long, his identity has been tied to being indispensable. Now, he must ask whether his worth depends solely on that role. Gabby's storyline reaches a poignant resolution when she finally experiences the love she has longed for. The moment is not grandiose, it is quiet and sincere. It reinforces the film's central thesis. Connection is transformative. Even flawed toys deserve the chance to be chosen. In helping Gabby, Woody performs one of his most selfless acts, giving up a piece of himself to fulfill her dream. It is both literal and symbolic sacrifice. As the narrative builds toward its conclusion, Woody stands at a crossroads. He can return to Bonnie's room, resuming a role that has grown increasingly marginal, or he can step into the unknown alongside Bo Peep. The decision is not framed as right or wrong, it is framed as evolution. For the first time, Woody considers a future not dictated by a child's needs. The choice to stay behind is not abandonment, it is an acknowledgement that his journey with Bonnie has reached its natural endpoint. The farewell between Woody and Buzz Lightyear carries decades of shared history. Their friendship has anchored the franchise since the beginning. Buzz, once Woody's rival, now understands him better than anyone. Their parting is understated yet deeply emotional. It speaks to mutual respect and acceptance. Sometimes love means letting go. In stepping into a life as a lost toy, Woody redefines himself. He does not reject his past, he builds upon it. The film closes not with a sense of loss, but with quiet optimism. The world is larger than a single bedroom. Purpose can evolve. Identity can expand. For a series that began as a playful exploration of what toys do when humans are not looking, this installment matures into a meditation on autonomy and change. Directed by Josh Cooley and produced by Jonas Rivera and Mark Nielsen, The film demonstrates a refined understanding of its characters' emotional trajectories. It does not rely solely on nostalgia, though nostalgia is present. Instead, it interrogates the very foundation of the franchise's premise. What does it mean to be a toy? Is it merely to serve, or is it to choose? The answer unfolds gradually through Forky's transformation from self-declared trash to self-accepting toy, through Gabby's redemption, through Bull's independence, and ultimately through Woody's departure. The film argues that identity is not static. It is shaped by experience, connection, and courage. Released to U.S. theaters on June 21, 2019, the film entered a cinematic landscape saturated with sequels and reboots. Yet, it distinguished itself by daring to push its protagonist beyond familiar territory. Rather than replaying old conflicts, it ventured into philosophical terrain. It asked its audience, many of whom had grown up with these characters, to consider their own transitions. Careers change, relationships evolve, roles shift. Letting go is not failure, it is growth. The emotional resonance of this story lies in its universality. Woody's journey mirrors the human experience of redefining oneself after years of dedication to a single purpose. Parents whose children leave home, professionals who pivot careers, friends who drift apart. These themes are embedded within the brightly colored world of animated toys. By the final frame, the film affirms that endings can also be beginnings. Woody's choice does not erase his history with Andy or Bonnie. It honors it by allowing him to step forward with the wisdom those relationships provided. In doing so, the narrative achieves something rare for a fourth installment. It feels both conclusive and liberating. In the broader context of animated storytelling, this chapter stands as a testament to the power of character-driven sequels. It proves that even in a franchise built on whimsy and humor, there is room for introspection. The laughter remains, but it is accompanied by reflection. The adventure dazzles, but it is grounded in emotional truth. Ultimately, the legacy of Toy Story 4 lies in its willingness to let its hero grow beyond the confines of tradition. Woody began as a toy defined by ownership. He ends as a toy defined by choice. And in that evolution, the film finds its quiet, enduring strength.